The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available on Amazon.
The Mike Wagner Show, also brought to you by Illuminatical, the think tank of the future. The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, available on Amazon, highlighting the Book of David. And Heidi Tam Music, with her latest on HeidiTamMusic.com.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the mikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike, official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosinzia Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with a terrific gentleman who's an author and writer, grew up in Chicago with an interest in astronomy, and also has a podcast on cosmic origins and executive producing a documentary about Michigan disabled law student. We'll talk more about that. And also he's got a new book about a 30-year-old janitor at an observatory and a 40-year-old known as the greatest astronomical astronomer in the 20th century, co-discovering the Big Bang Theory and also inventor of one of the telescopes as well. This gentleman earned a undergrad degree in music and literature from University of Denver and also moved to New York City. In 1999, he earned his master's in interdisciplinary studies at James Hopkins University, Krieger School of Arts and Science. And we'll be talking about a new book, Hubble, Humanson, and The Big Bang. Live, ladies and gentlemen, in Plus Studios somewhere in New York as well. The amazing author, writer, growing up in Chicago with an interest in astronomy, and the book, Hubble, Humanson, and The Big Bang, The Race to Uncover the Expanding Universe. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Ron Voller. Ron, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, Mike. It's great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Ron. So you're an author, writer who grew up in Chicago with an interest in astronomy. You have a podcast on cosmic origins and is producing a documentary about Michigan disabled law student whose mission basically is to make 24/7 care affordable across the economic spectrum. And you also have your new book about a 30-year-old janitor at an observatory and a 40-year-old known as the greatest astronomical observer, and also with Edwin Hubble of the Hubble telescope. And you also earned your undergrad degree in music and literature from University of Denver, and you have a book that's called Hubble, Humanson, and the Big Bang, The Race to Uncover the Expanding Universe. And before getting all that with the Big Bang and Hubble telescope, tell us how you first got started.
It's a good question. I've been writing since I could read and write. So just kind of always been in the game. But I started more officially in the early 2000s. I started as a children's, I started writing everything. That's what writers do. You just start writing everything and you decide what things you're not good at first. And then I landed on a couple of things. I thought children's would be my thing, but I've always been interested in astronomy from a young age. I come from a family that's, very curious, into science, art, architecture, literature. My dad has over 100 patents to his name and had a family business. And my mom was a song and dance gal, but also was into the stars and kind of built our curiosity as young people in the stars. And I think we all have kind of all of us look up at the sky and wonder. I think that's a very human trait. For me, I've always been kind of interested in origins. And I like to get to the bottom of things. I'm a great rabbit hole jumper. I'm a rabbit hole spelunker. This character, Miltonhumanson, jumped out of the page at me when I was reading a book about the Big Bang. And I just had to know more about him. Nobody seemed to know his story They just knew the highlights. And so that's not really a person's story. So I decided that I would take it on myself to learn about this guy. And what I found was incredible. He's my favorite character in modern history. He's unbelievable.
It does sound unbelievable. And what was the one precise moment that simply influenced you into writing a story, especially about Humanson?
Yeah, he's the subject of my first book. I wrote his biography after doing a lot of research in California and around the country and the world, really. Um, Here's a guy, he's very scientific. He had an eighth grade education. He was a cowboy and a mule skinner and actually worked the pack trains. That's these mule trains that would haul supplies and men up this steep mountain where they were happened to be building what would become the preeminent astronomical observatory of the first half of the 20th century. He's just an everyman character. I mean, he chewed tobacco. He made his own moonshine. He was an avid fisherman and horseman and poker player and storyteller. And so he was very unlike what you would normally see in an observatory. And but at the age of nearly 30, he discovered that he had this ability. He was working at the observatory then. At the time, he had taken a job as a janitor, and he discovered this ability that he had to photograph starlight. And so he went from that point 10 years later to having his photo taken with Edwin Hubble and Einstein in the Hale Library at the observatory, having just convinced Einstein that he was wrong, Einstein was wrong, and that the universe was actually expanding.
Really?
That's a pretty incredible story. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is really interesting. He actually outfoxed Einstein, and basically what just prompted Edwin Hubble to use the telescope to see if he was right or not. What was that one precise moment?
Yeah, that's an interesting part of the story, and that's where the race comes from in the title. Einstein, shortly after he published his general relativity in 1917, discovered that the equations might be leading to an expanding or contracting universe. And he went in, because he didn't like that idea, he went in and actually concocted a new piece of the equation, of the field equations, so that he could create a static universe. And that settled his mind on the subject. But later, in the early 1920s especially, the expansion idea began to pick up steam as more and more physicists were reading his equations and seeing the same thing he had seen. And eventually, Edwin Hubble, who was gaining a name for himself as one of, if not the preeminent astronomer of the day, heard about this at a convention, basically in Europe. And he came back hot to try to discover this expansion experimentally. So, to put the experimentation with the theory is the way to really prove that something is what it is, or what the theory is supposing it is. And so he wanted to do this. He was really hot to try and do this. But unfortunately for Hubble, he didn't have the skill as a telescope technician to do the kind of work that he needed to do to bring down this evidence. It was very difficult work at the time. It dealt with extremely long exposure times, and there was only one guy in the mountain who could do it at that time, and that happened to be Milton-Humanson.
So it was like having the first telescope, but it was just like really crude and basically, what was it, like prehistoric? But then since then, it's like a number of improvements have come on and on. So this is pretty much the beginning of the telescope, which later evolved into modern telescopes and getting ones that are like just easy to use. You can buy at any store or whatsoever.
That observatory, especially in Hubble and Humason, didn't have as much to do with that part of it, but that observatory began the process that is now what we know as telescope technology. It really, what they were building there was the state of the art, and the technicians who designed telescopes there went on to design one telescope type in particular that has taken over the world. Virtually every large optical telescope that's built today is built with this design that a guy named George Ritchie and his partner, Henri Chrétien, designed and developed. But Hubble and Humason were using at the time what was known as the 100-inch telescope. It's still up there on Mount Wilson, and my background is on Mount Wilson. That's the Cosmic Cafe back there, and you're overlooking Los Angeles to my left, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were using the world's largest and most state-of-the-art telescope to do work that modern telescopes do in a matter of hours. They were doing in days and weeks.
Wow. Days and weeks. That is so interesting. And of course, more about Hubble, Humanson, and the Big Bang, the race to uncover the expanding universe. More on that with author Ron Voller. And what is the Big Bang Theory? The theory of everything. We'll answer that question. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the mikewagnershow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Milton Humanson. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by me and Milton, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by me and Milton has garnered great reviews in evil and endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forge Riley, and Maneos. So grab your copy today for Girls Missing by me and Milton, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the mikewagnershow.com and our 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, Odyssey, Podbean, Pandora. Also, follow us on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on all social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, and more. Tickets with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/me and Milton for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/me and Milton. Check it out today and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with the amazing author, writer from Chicago, now living in New York City, Ron Voller, here on the Mike Wagner Show with Hubble, Humanson, and the Big Bang, the race to uncover the expanding universe. And before we get to more on that book, you also have a podcast which is on cosmic origins as well. And tell us more about that.
Yeah, the book is named for one of the chapters in the Hubble Humason book called Bang Goes the Universe. And effectively what I'm doing there is really telling the story of us as humans, as a species, and our development of thought along the lines of cosmic origins, which really stems well before written history, and has a correlation with ancient pagan traditions. And so it really just kind of just trying to unpack the history of learning, of thought, of conjecture that has led us slowly and steadily to where we are today in terms of our understanding of the cosmos.
That was really interesting. And we talked before that as well, too, being where we're at and everything else. You could also see when you go further north, like the Milky Way and the Northern Lights and Aurora Borealis and everything like that. And of course, thanks to all that. And of course, how often do you see that? And what are some of the amazing discoveries that you saw, you play with your telescope and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean it's phenomenal. I've been up in Canada and seen the Northern Lights on boating expeditions on and it's remarkable what you can see. Um, Also, the observatory on Mount Wilson there in California still has the 60-inch and 100-inch telescope, and people can go and uh, um, check out the stars through those telescopes. They do public viewing nights. The telescopes are no longer in commission. They're a bit smaller than the really big telescopes of the day, but the Mount Wilson organization operates the telescopes. And if people want to go there, they should check that out. And I highly recommend it. If you want to see the stars in a way you never imagined, it's truly an intriguing evening.
And of course, thanks to Big Bang theories as well, too. That of course, we just want to recap why is the theory of everything, and what was that thing that Humanson had to become the best photographer in the world as well, too.
Yeah, I mean the thing that they needed to do was what they needed to do to discover expansion was they needed to check out these galaxies that are farther and farther away from us. And we know that they're farther away because they're less luminous, they're less bright. And what Hubble surmised was that if they could establish that these were moving away from us and that they were moving away at a faster rate, the dimmer they were, that was exponential. In other words, there was a ratio, a value that could be correlated to that distance, then they would have established that the universe was expanding. And in fact, Humanson, over the years, through his extensive work with the telescope, was able to establish exactly that there is a correlation between velocity and distance. Okay. And that ratio establishes the Big Bang.
And do you think the universe is still expanding at this point? And how many galaxies do we currently have right now?
That's a really good question. Way too many to count. Answer to the second question. Some estimates range as high as 1 trillion. Some others are in the hundreds of billions. It's a lot of galaxies, and every one of them would hold something like anywhere between 200 billion to 1 trillion stars, depending on the size of it. We're learning more and more about the universe as we employ more and more sophisticated telescopes, like the James Webb telescope, which is the one that people are hearing about more often than not these days, which is exploring the universe at a very, very early stage of its development, only less than a billion years old. So the universe is thought to be somewhere around 14 billion years old at this point. So it's a difficult question to answer because there are a lot of them. There are a lot of galaxies.
Well, you figured Hubble and Humanson will probably have that answer somewhat, knowing it would expand, and everything else too. And of course, with Humanson being an amazing guy, you also you talked about him being a mule skinner as well as being a guy with the stars. You also wrote a book about the mule skinner and the stars. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, the janitor who becomes an astronomer. It's kind of the Goodwill Hunting. He's kind of the Goodwill Hunting of the astronomy world, if people remember that film. Janitor genius kind of thing. He kind of came out of nowhere. He had an interesting issue. He was colorblind. And he was colorblind in a way that helped him see contrast between black and white extremely clearly. And so when he looked at the stars, he could really pick them out in a way that other astronomers couldn't. And this was part of the thing that helped him. He also had great stamina. He was a very crafty observer. The 100-inch telescope was, yes, the preeminent telescope in the world, but guess what? It had glitches. And, it had mercury floats. It actually floated on thin sheets of mercury.
Oh,
and
wow.
And that mercury would heat up over the course of the night. And as it did, it would create little bubbles. And those bubbles would create a tiny shutter. And it only takes a tiny shutter to ruin an astronomer's work, especially a guy like Humanson. He's taking plates, spectrograms. We've all seen a spectrum, right? The color, the rainbow. He was taking spectrograms that were a centimeter, like a half inch.
Oh, wow.
Size. And he was doing that over the course of 6 or 7 days in the freezing cold, operating a telescope that, unlike today, where you just punch in coordinates and a computer takes everything in and you just put your feet up with a cup of coffee. He actually had to stand there on the viewing platform with his eye pressed up against the crosshairs of his guide scope and push these buttons to move the telescope, the platform he was on, and the dome at the same time, exactly so that he could keep his eye on this thing, because if he came off it for a moment, he could ruin the work that he'd been working on for days. So it was really extremely difficult work to do. I can't stress enough. He was the only guy doing it at Mount Wilson. And really, he was kind of the first, sort of the first and the last. There were a couple of other guys who did it, but none to the extent that he did. I mean, by the time he was done with his career, he had established distances for hundreds of galaxies, distant galaxies.
Wow.
Very, very difficult work to do. Yeah. Incredible character.
And I'm sure Carl Sagan would have been proud as well. We thank him billions and billions and billions.
Right. Well, come to think of it, Sagan actually did a piece on Humanson in Cosmos in his series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's episode 10. They didn't get the character right. They have him as a, foppy, haughty guy, speaking almost in an English accent, which is hysterical because Hubble was the one. Hubble was the guy. What was Hubble? He was from Missouri, but he went to Oxford on a Rhodes Scholarship. He was very bright and he was very studious. But while he was in England, he developed this kind of half English accent. He wore jodhpurs and +4s. And, he was just kind of trying to recreate himself. He wasn't very comfortable in his own skin, I guess we can say. Whereas Humanson was a very down-to-earth dude. All he wanted to do was his work, go home, see his family, and go fishing. It just was really, his day at the office was different from most people's, but he was really kind of an everyman character.
I can imagine him saying, hi, honey, could you take over for one night? Maybe we can be together. You can watch the stars with me. Put your eye over here, and we'll take turns with eyes and everything. So,
women weren't. This is horrible, but women weren't allowed on the mountain viewing in those days. But you can bet that every astronomer had his wife up at least once to look through the telescope. It's too enticing a thing not to have done,
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. You also do this amazing work with some LA areas involving a Michigan disabled law student. We'll get to that in just 1 minute with Ron Voller. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, and brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Milton's The Missing. We'll be back with the multi-talented author Ron Voller of Hubble, Humanson, and The Big Bang after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, I'm Burl Barer, legendary American author, and I'm here to tell you about Missing, the new mystery suspense novel by Humanson. It's really a good book. Very surprising. Never metaphor I didn't like, especially in this book. Here you have a main character whose life has been filled with despair. His wife died in 9/11. His young daughter died of a rare disease. He's not a happy camper. What does he do for a living? He's a physical fitness trainer. When somebody hardly knows, somebody he's never met, he only has encountered them on an internet chat line, goes missing. This is his journey. He's going to go rescue them. This is his search for redemption, his search for his own personal promised land. He couldn't do anything about the death of his wife, the death of his child, but maybe he could rescue this woman he's never met. That is, if she exists. Missing by Humanson, international in scope, vastly entertaining, full of surprises. I suggest you get it, either paperback or an electronic edition for your Kindle. Missing by Humanson.
There's nothing like summer smooth jazz and R&B night at the View Music Bar. Join us Sunday, August 25th at 7:30 for a night filled with smooth jazz stars like Billboard charting artist Niels, award-winning songwriter and musician Michael Garvin, UK's top charting soulful artist Joe Levy, our very own SoCal's hitmaker, trumpeter CTK, and smooth jazz award-winning international charting vocalist Heidi Tan.
Spending all my nights, all my money going out of the town.
Don't miss this unforgettable evening at the View Music Bar and Lounge. Sponsored by Skin Protocol Med Spa, Fast Fix Jewelry and Watch Repairs, East Coast Artists Agency, Jazz Club Radio, Worldwide Jazz Radio, So Jazzy Radio, and 96.9 The Oasis. Tickets available on the Venmo app and Eventbrite. Sunday, August 25th for a smooth summer jazz and R&B night.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Illuminatical, the think tank of the future. Illuminatical, a human think tank that brings scientists and engineers together from all over the world, has created a method to construct a renewable generator with this in mind. This unique product operates on a closed-loop system that generates more energy internally than it needs to function. The extra electricity can be used to run everything from homes and power grids to phones and laptops. This power source is entirely renewable, highly scalable, and more importantly, self-regenerating. For more information, visit facebook.com/illuminatical. That's facebook.com/ELLUMENIPTICAL today. The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases Him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to the Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
We're back with author Ron Voller of Hubble, Humanson, and The Big Bang here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we continue a bit more about the book, you've done some amazing things, and you're also involved with a documentary as well, too, about a Michigan disabled law student and his mission to make 24/7 care affordable. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, his name is Vincent Pinty, and he has a spinal muscular atrophy. SMA is the short term for it. It robs the body of a protein that creates muscle, and it kills most people before they're 25 years old.
Oh, wow.
Medical science has made some inroads that is really starting to help. But the problem that most people in Vincent's position, and not necessarily with SMA, but just people who require 24/7 care, is that it's not provided by any private insurance carrier in the United States.
Oh, wow.
So your predicament then is you either make a lot of money so that you can afford the $150,000 plus a year for that 24/7 care, or you're forced into poverty because you need to make $14,000 or less to qualify for Medicare so that you can have that 24/7 care. It's covered.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So there is a great swath of people who might otherwise be, leading their normal lives as middle income, mothers and fathers and what have you, who can't do it, have to live below the poverty line because they can't get the insurance. Their insurance won't cover them. So that's his mission. And the film is covering he is going for his law degree at the University of Michigan, and he's simultaneously getting a degree in public policy. He's an extremely charismatic guy, a lot of fun to work with. He's great on the camera, and everybody loves him. We have a great director. Our director's Katie Davison. Katie won the Lion at Venice in 2023 for feature documentary, best feature documentary. She's great, and everybody seems there's a lot of energy around this project. We're really, really enjoying helping Vincent tell his story.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And it's all in the stars for him. That's so amazing. I like that. And of course, speaking of that, you gave us a little hint about a soon be release, which is Mango's Universe, and tell us more about that coming up.
Yeah, you're probably referring to the book. So my next book on cosmic origins will be this book, Bang Goes the Universe. It's based on my podcast. As I'm doing the research for the book, I'm making the podcast because I want to start the conversation with people. I think it's an issue. I really want to have the conversation because I want to make science safe for everybody. And I mean everybody. So creating a safe space where people can talk about it. I talk with John Mulcahy, who's the director of the observatories. It's on my YouTube channel as well. You can go and see the video of us chatting. I talked to Deborah Shapley, who's the granddaughter of Harlow Shapley, a very famous early 20th century astronomer. Knew Milton Humanson and was one of his champions early in his game, in his career. So the book then wants to go back and, like I said about the podcast, really unpack our development as a species toward modern science and our understanding of cosmic origins.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Where can we find your book, and where can we find how it works at, Ron?
Well, these books are available on the latest book, Humanson and the Big Bang, is available on Amazon. You can find it at Barnes and Noble. Anywhere you buy books online, you can get it. Virtually anywhere you get your books online.
All right, we'll certainly check that out. We're with the amazing author Ron Voller of Hubble, Humanson, and the Big Bang, the race to uncover the expanded universe here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a few more things, Ron, and what else can we expect from you in 2024 and beyond besides the Bang Goes the Universe? What else can we expect from you coming up?
The list grows. I am actually working on some children's stories. I still love that world. I love you can be so fantastic with children's stories, and kids just eat it up. I have a book being illustrated now. I hope to see that book out by the end of the year, possibly early 2025. Still in development. The podcast we're working on that, and I am also working on a season 2 of the podcast I'm working on now, and I'm working on a screenplay, a Humanson screenplay biopic about his life and the life around Mount Wilson.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. As soon as you get the film going, let us know. I would love to see it. That is so amazing. And also a couple of things. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Wow, that's a great question. In the narrative nonfiction space, Eric Larson is a guy that I read regularly. People may know the title Devil in the White City, which is centered around Chicago in the late 1800s and the World's Fair. His ability to weave disparate storylines and his attention to detail, historical detail, is enormous. He's really an incredible writer. S.E. Gwynn is great. Yeah, these are my current influences. H.W. Brands is another name that comes to mind. Yeah, there are more. Davis Sobel has written extensively about astronomy, women in astronomy, which I think is important. By the way, I also talk about women astronomers and women's impact on early astronomy before they were given the kind of the kind of opportunities that they're given in today's world. Better and better for women astronomers. So I do talk about that in my books as well. I think it's an important part of the history. So
very important as well too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Wage peace, fight fire with water. If you want to write. Storytelling is maybe the thing that sets human beings apart from the rest of the animal kingdom. So tell your story. Don't be afraid. Just go for it, and be kind to the people you meet. You don't know what they're going through.
Right. I think that's a really good point. I like that as well. We're here with the amazing multi-talent Ron Voller of Hubble, Humanson, and the Big Bang, the race to uncover the expanding universe here on the Mike Wagner Show. Ron, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you back. And once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
My website is ronvoller.com. It's very difficult. RONVOLLER.com. Everything you need is there. All the links to the books. There's bios on the books, and we're actually expanding the website now, so you'll be able to go to more of the stuff, my YouTube channels and different things. So yeah, that's the best place to reach me. And of course, Springer, my publisher, works directly with Amazon, so that is probably the first place to go and look for the book. But you can really get it anywhere you buy books.
All right, that's great. And once again, what's your website?
ronvoller.com.
ronvoller.com. Make sure you check it out today, guys. Once again, Ron, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you back. We wish you all the best. And Ron, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thanks so much, Mike. I appreciate it.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, I'm Burl Barer, legendary American author, and I'm here to tell you about Missing, the new mystery suspense novel by Mosin Zia. It's really a good book. Very surprising. Never a metaphor I didn't like, especially in this book. Here you have a main character whose life has been filled with despair. His wife died in 9/11. His young daughter died of a rare disease. He's not a happy camper. What does he do for a living? He's a physical fitness trainer. When somebody hardly knows, someone he's never met, he only has encountered them on an internet chat line, goes missing, this is his journey. He's going to go rescue them. This is his search for redemption, his search for his own personal promised land. He couldn't do anything about the death of his wife, the death of his child, but maybe he could rescue this woman he's never met. That is, if she exists. Missing by Mosin Zia, international in scope, vastly entertaining, full of surprises. I suggest you get it, either paperback or an electronic edition for your Kindle. Missing by Mosin Zia.
There's nothing like summer smooth jazz and R&B night at the View Music Bar. Join us Sunday, August 25th at 7:30 for a night filled with smooth jazz stars like Billboard charting artist Niels, award-winning songwriter and musician Michael Garvin, UK's top charting soulful artist Joe Levy, our very own SoCal's hitmaker, trumpeter CTK, and smooth jazz award-winning international charting vocalist Heidi Tan.
Spending all my nights, all my money going out of the town.
Don't miss this unforgettable evening at the View Music Bar and Lounge. Sponsored by Skin Protocol Med Spa, Fast Fix Jewelry and Watch Repairs, East Coast Artist Agency, Jazz Club Radio, Worldwide Jazz Radio, So Jazzy Radio, and 96.9 The Oasis. Tickets available on the Venmo app and Eventbrite. Sunday, August 25th for a smooth summer jazz and R&B night.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Illuminatical, the think tank of the future. Illuminatical, a human think tank that brings scientists and engineers together from all over the world, has created a method to construct a renewable generator with this in mind. This unique product operates on a closed-loop system that generates more energy internally than it needs to function. The extra electricity can be used to run everything from homes and power grids to phones and laptops. This power source is entirely renewable, highly scalable, and more importantly, self-regenerating. For more information, visit facebook.com/illuminatical. That's facebook.com/ELLUMENIPTICAL today. The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases Him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.